The College Football Experience Year 1 Coaching Grades episode on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. Sign up at UnderdogFantasy.com and use our promo code TCESGPN to get up to $1,000 in bonus credits. And remember, as always, folks, to let it ride.
Hey, folks, this is Bud Foster. You're listening to SGPN. Let's let it ride.
Yes. Woo! Welcome to the College Football Experience Year 1 Coaching Grades episode. Been waiting a while for this one. YouTube.com/the College Experience. Jump on over there and hit that like and subscribe button because it's always college football season here on the College Football Experience. We're going to do that episode. We also got some news we'll touch base on. If you're wondering who the hell you're listening to, that's fair. My name is Colby Swinging Database Dan, a.k.a. Pick Dundee. That's not a pick. This is a pick.
He was raised in the land down under, where a man thinks on his feet, speaks with his fists, and lives by his wits.
When Dundee happened, he was a superstar.
He's the kind of guy that would drink a gallon of gasoline so he could piss in your campfire. You could drop this guy off at the Arctic Circle wearing a pair of bikini underwear without his toothbrush, and tomorrow afternoon he's going to show up at your poolside with $1 million smile and a fistful of pesos.
Oh, a fistful of pesos is happening everywhere in college football right now. We got a lot to talk about, a lot to unpack besides 30 coaching changes, from a year ago. We're going to talk about the first year coaches for 30 different coaches. Shout out to the chat. Chop kicks in there. Jeff B, Fat Boa 44. And I think we will, buddy. But I am joined by my co-host. Give it up for former staffer at Austin Peay, South Carolina, and West Virginia. Give it up for Money Line Mac, a.k.a. Ryan McIntyre. How are you, brother?
What is up, man? Yeah, the college football news cycle has really turned into a calendar year. So for us that we do content, thank you to this news cycle. Let's talk some trades. Who needs the NFL draft?
Mac tonight. Come on, make it Mac tonight. Yeah, we got lots of lawsuits going on. It's just fascinating stuff. But back to, I thought we had, tied the bow potentially. Well, I guess I knew Tennessee would do something. But, one of the things, and I feel slightly, I feel a little like I let the fans a little bit down because, we cover every team on the College Football Experience. We've been doing this shit for years. It's year 8. And we did the Nico to UCLA episode, and I kind of, in a way, I think I just phoned it in like, that's, I don't think I phoned it in, but I think it turns out that I might have phoned it in because I forgot that Appalachian State quarterback Joey Aguilar had transferred to UCLA earlier in the offseason. And now he hits the portal after Nico, that got finalized, Nico to UCLA. Also, his brother Madden, who's a quarterback who had signed with Arkansas, has now hit the portal for UCLA as well. Fuck, we got the brothers. I do like that aspect of that. But Joey Aguilar, I should have posed this question. I feel like I did let the audience down a little bit. I should have posed this question before. Is Nico better than Joey Aguilar? I mean, I know for the NFL he is. The height, the intangibles, but is he a better quarterback than Joey Aguilar, who, played really well at Appalachian State?
That's a good question. I think that, it goes back to our original discussion with Nico is We don't think Nico sucks. We're not saying that. But Nico hasn't shown consistency yet at the college football level. He showed flashes against especially the bottom half of the SEC or FCS teams, but he has lacked consistency. Aguilar, on the other hand, was really, really good at App State, not only 1 year, but back-to-back years. I mean, back-to-back years over 3,000 yards. A combined
33 touchdowns 2 years ago. Now, last year they had a little bit of a coaching debacle, but so if you're not familiar, I know the Sun Belt is not the SEC, but Joey Aguilar has thrown 56 touchdowns and just 24 interceptions in 2 years in Boone. Meanwhile, Nico has thrown 21 touchdowns, 5 interceptions in 2 years at Tennessee. Now he only played one game in the first year at Tennessee, but or only started one game, played in 5. Just threw for 314 yards that season, though. So most of his numbers are accumulating from last year. But I think it's a decent question to ask because I know that there's the intangibles. NFL draft, you say, oh well, Nico's a sure bet, first, second round or something like that. Which I don't even know if that's accurate, but he does have the size and the arm strength that certain quarterbacks don't have. But Joey Aguilar, I think, is a gamer. I know he's got to learn a new offense, the Josh Heupel offense, which is QB friendly, but I think if you had told me this offseason before any of this went down, if you had to field a team for this year to win games, who would you rather have, Joey Aguilar or Nico? I would choose Joey Aguilar. How about you?
Yeah. And I think also it is worth mentioning because this does matter because what era we're in. For the price of what they're going to pay Aguilar versus Nico, hell yeah, I'd rather have Aguilar. Better return on investment, probably. I
started way more games.
Better locker room guy. I'm pretty confident to say that after what I've seen go down. So yeah, I'd rather have Aguilar than Nico if it means all the baggage that comes with Nico, aka his dad and his people.
Yeah, I mean, it's just going to be really interesting to watch. If only they played in the regular season this year. Can we make that happen?
Yeah.
Can we make that happen? How do you feel about the brothers too? Trying to think of the last, set of brothers. I'm sure there's been a bunch. I know the Blades at Miami and stuff, but we got a set of brothers now at UCLA in the same room. I don't actually have a problem with the Arkansas transfer to UCLA. He was going to go to UCLA. He flips now, stay at home, be with his brother. He'd probably be made fun of all the time in the SEC. So he's like, let me go over to hang out, stay at home. It's the Nico one that is the one that's just, I don't know that UCLA got better. To be fair though, Aguilar would have had to learn a new offense at UCLA too. So there is that. But so it's basically like a trade. And we get to watch this thing happen. Unbelievable. And Tennessee, there's reports that they whiffed on Josh Hoover, the TCU quarterback, who offered a bunch of money, turned that down allegedly. Did Tennessee win at the end of the day here, or what do you think?
I think
so. Because if you whiffed on Hoover, though.
Yeah, but I mean, I think if what was happening with Nico and what ended up happening, that was going to happen at a different level or a different time. At some point, with the way his people were acting, threatening to sit out a college football playoff game for money, because his contract or whatever only said 12 games. At some point, I'm not saying the kid's a cancer, but the whole situation is it's a lot of baggage for a guy that's a good quarterback, but not worth that. He's not worth all the shit that comes with him right now. So, I would say Tennessee, they got to stand up and say, no, enough is enough. Best of luck to you. We'll go get a guy in the portal. Yeah, Hoover would have been great, and I'm glad he's staying at TCU. Good for Hoover if it is true that he turned down a bunch of money and stayed loyal to Sonny Dykes and TCU. Aguilar's a good quarterback. He'll do a good job, I think. Yeah, no, I kind of like what Tennessee did here. I mean, this guy's got more career starts. I mean, okay, he's never started in the playoffs, but I mean, okay, Nico threw for what, like a buck? Like I was like 97 yards or something in the play, whatever,
sometimes, it's like that old thing, like whether it's Doug Flutie or something, you look at some of the best college quarterbacks ever.
Yeah.
And I think Will Howard, we'll see where he gets drafted, but there's a long list of quarterbacks that were great in college that you don't need to be great in the NFL. You know what I mean? Like college should just worry about college. I wouldn't worry about the NFL. Now, sure. Is it nice when both connect and then they can kick back money to the program? Sure. Like I know Mahomes writes Texas Tech a big check. Sure. You want him to go to the NFL, but I also think like you might have a better shot at actually winning with Aguilar. So why go out of your way and invest so much into the quarterback position when there's a long history of guys that aren't starters in the NFL that have won national championships or won 10 games, 11 games, stuff like that?
We went through that exercise last week. I mean, yeah, JJ McCarthy ended up being a top 10 pick, but he wasn't even close to that projected before the run, and he didn't even play last year. The only guy that really has played or was by far the best player in college football and then the number one pick in the draft too and won a national championship and the Heisman was Joe Burrow recently. Everybody else, like the quarterback has just been a dude that has made tough plays. Stetson Bennett, McCarthy.
In the playoffs, you mean? In the playoffs. Like Caleb Williams was great, but they didn't make the playoffs. I get your point. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I think that you're better suited paying the shit out of your offensive and defensive line and loading up on your receivers, your secondary, and then placing that quarterback in there to basically not screw it up like Saban used to say.
100%. And then me and Patty C have had this conversation just in general between friends, like through text messages over the past couple months. Like, could you see the renaissance? And I know it's me loving the triple option. Could you see more teams do it because you wouldn't have to pay your quarterback much money? You just put I think like you want to win games, make a bowl, get that cut of money. If you don't have money for an elite quarterback, you could just go triple option. And I mean, Paul Johnson, Frank Solich, these are examples of, Frank Solich did it at Nebraska. It wasn't the full on triple, but I would tend to think like if you're a team with no money, if you're sitting there struggling, like I know Arizona was struggling. I know they have Fafita who's good, but maybe after Fafita, you don't, you could say, well, what are we doing? Why not just run the option? And, we can just pay a guy $200,000 or something. Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. Like,
well, it doesn't even have to be the full on triple option of old, the Army Navy one. Look at what Vandy did. You talked about that all the last year. Bavia, like it's a version of the triple option. Kansas State back in the day when Bill Snyder was there. And,
Lance Leipold with Jalen Daniels.
Leipold. Rich Rod's offense is not triple option, but speed option. Like that's what's beautiful about college football and college basketball, where there's so many different styles that can win. There's no one all be all like the NFL and NBA where everybody plays the same style. It feels like that's what makes college hoops and college football great is you could have an air raid team going against a triple option team and both teams could be 9-3.
Hell yeah. I mean, look, we saw it in a bowl game, I think with Leach and Air Force with Troy Calhoun. So yeah. We've seen it with a bunch of other ones. I just wonder if you might have it come back. But anyway, I'm getting ahead of myself. That's an episode for another day because I do think in general, running the football is something that's coming back. You saw it even in the NFL with the Philadelphia Eagles. But before we get into these coaching things, I want to let the good folks know out there that you are listening to the College Football Experience, part of the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. Make sure you tune in this Thursday night to the SGPN NFL Draft Show. There's a live watch party for the entire round one of the NFL Draft featuring all your favorite hosts and fans from SGPN. Tune in Thursday, 8 p.m. Eastern there, youtube.com/sports gambling podcast. Once again, that's youtube.com/sports gambling podcast. All right. We got slides, everything, youtube.com/the college experience. And, whoa. Okay.
Easy to start with.
How do I do this? Yeah. Well, I figured we'd start with the Big Ten because that's where the national championship resides. I thought it was the strongest conference last season. Coming into the year, I thought it was going to be the SEC. I think the Big Ten proved that they were the best conference in college football last season. Part of this exercise is to see what we grade the coach, where can they sustain this? Is the program headed in the right direction? And, we're going to rank at the end our top 10 best coaching hires from a year ago based on 1 year of data. So at number 1 in this exercise, and I'm just going by the conference alphabetically. It's ironic that it's probably going to be most people's number 1 on the entire coaching cycle from a year ago. It is Curt Cignetti with the Indiana Hoosiers after coming over from James Madison, bringing a slew 14, 15, 16 transfers from JMU with him. And then taking the Indiana Hoosiers of all teams to the college football playoffs in year 1, which I got to pat myself on the back because I did state that it's worth taking a future at Indiana to make the playoffs a year ago. Now, I did not have them at 11-2. But I thought the schedule aligned nice with that. Now, to be fair, I also said take a future on Rutgers and Indiana because I thought both schedules were so great. But I had Indiana even losing to Michigan and making the playoffs. So Cignetti beats Michigan year 1. Now, sure, he loses to Ohio State. Now, sure, he loses to Notre Dame at Notre Dame in the playoffs. But how the fuck is this not just an A+? I mean, this one is just. How blown away were you by Curt Cignetti in year 1 there in Bloomington?
I was pretty surprised that they were able to keep it consistent all year long. Like this wasn't a fluke. I mean, they blew teams out. They were drilling teams throughout the middle of the year in Big Ten play. I mean, they beat Northwestern by 17, Maryland by 2 touchdowns, Nebraska by 50. At Sparty,
that one was unbelievable. But when they beat Nebraska by 50, I had to double take. I'm like, what? I think if you're a Nebraska fan, and I think Rules got them on the right direction, but still you're thinking how the fuck did we not get this guy? He walks in year 1 and then he beats us by 50. Yeah. Unbelievable. But anyway, continue your point.
Well, and then icing on the cake is, they lose to Ohio State. Ohio State was loaded. They should have lost to Ohio State, but they actually were competitive until a couple special teams woes, but then they beat Purdue by 70 on senior day to punch their ticket to the dance. This guy ruined it for everybody. Now the expectation is, hey, come in here, bring all your transfers and go to the college football playoff. Yeah, he got a great schedule, but like I said, it wasn't like he was winning a bunch of 1-score games. They beat the shit out of everybody except for Ohio State and Notre Dame on the road, who both played the national championship.
But then news comes out after the season and that Curtis Rourke, their starting quarterback, played with some pretty decent injury, which explain why he didn't run that much. The previous years at Ohio, he ran so much. And then you're like, damn, he did this with a quarterback that got injured in week 2 that was limited at 70%, 60%. Now, here's the question. So A+ for you too, I take it, right? I mean, this is the easiest one, right?
Google it. He wins.
Yes. But is it sustainable is the question. Here's what's I think normally we would just say no fucking way. Right. Mm-hmm. But this is a new day and age. Indiana has some rich alums, some rich alums. I know Joe Buck and Mark Cuban and, there's a slew of other rich alums there that maybe aren't famous like those guys are in the sports world, but you look, torn ACL is what he was playing with. That's unbelievable.
He's tough. I would draft him just because of that.
Yeah.
You're on the team.
It makes a lot of sense, though. It makes a lot of sense because I remember watching and being like, he's not as sharp as he was a year ago. And I thought maybe that's just Mac to Big Ten. But it does make some sense because he looked a little iffy and uncomfortable in some of those spots. Is this sustainable? The reason why I want to say it might be now, maybe not making the playoffs every year, but if they have the resources, which I think they could be waking up to that, their schedule's nice again next year, buddy. It's not as nice as last year, but it's still nice, if that makes sense. You look at they only have, I think, 4 road games. No, 5. They have 5 road games, but they get a bye. So it's their road game. Their non-con, first off, Old Dominion, Kennesaw State, Indiana State, cakewalk, horseshit personally. But what are you going to do? I mean, Michigan's doing it. Ohio State's doing it. Penn State's doing it. Well, they should play a better non-con, but after those three, they're home to Illinois in a huge game because Illinois almost made the playoffs a year ago. They're at Iowa, which is very challenging. They get a bye week, then they're at Oregon, which is very, very challenging. They're home to Michigan State. They're home to UCLA. They're at Maryland. Then they're at Penn State. Very challenging. Oof. Home to Wisconsin. Bye week at Purdue. Like, I only think they're dogs in 3, maybe 4 games on this slate. I'm gonna say 3. I think they'll be a short favorite against Illinois. They'll be a dog probably by like 2.5 at Iowa. They'll be a dog at Oregon and at Penn State. But if they can just take care of business as the favorites, 9-3, but just take care of one upset, you're in the playoffs, I think, again. So the question I would say is this sustainable for the Indiana Hoosiers to be a football school moneyline Mac?
I think, yeah, I think that the expectations going forward is they're going to be a tier 2 Big Ten team. Like, I think you have that tier 1 with all the resources and athletes coming in and out of the program, Ohio State, Oregon, Michigan, and then Penn State. But I think Indiana's right there, that next tier with who's in
Iowa
that tier?
Iowa,
USC,
probably.
USC.
Put USC's potential is tier 1. I mean, I think they have the most draft picks in the history of the NFL. So you have to put them at number 1, but they definitely haven't been playing number 1 lately.
I know.
So
Iowa, Wisconsin, like, I think that tier where we should expect Illinois has kind of worked their way into it, I guess, with Belima a little
Minnesota
bit.
sometimes. Yeah.
Like, I think you should expect to be 8-4. Like, and because Cignetti wins, just Google him, just ask him.
Well, that's what's great, man, is he's got this fuck you, big dick attitude, right?
Yep.
And he, former Nick Saban guy, his dad was a coaching legend. Like, if he makes the playoffs again, I'm telling you, like, with that schedule, if you make the playoffs 2 straight years, the momentum behind that program will be fucking enormous. Yeah. And don't let him host. And he's quick to let you know that he should have been hosting. He said Notre Dame should have been playing at us. And I agree with him. I actually fucking agree with him. Like, they should have been hosting the game. Now, I still think Notre Dame probably would have won, but I think they should have been hosting the game. And I think he has a decent point.
Yeah. And he was already an A+, but he's an A++ for me because he changed the culture and how they view it there. Like, they expect to win now. They're not going to sneak up on people. Now he's going to be the favorite like he was at JMU at the end of his run, and we'll see how he is with the target on his back. I think he embraces it personally. Yeah,
I do too. I can't wait. I think they're honestly, like, this is the off season where you just, I stumble upon, so like, there's always a list of like 10 easy ones where you're so compelled for next year. And then you're dive deeper into stuff. Like we talked New Mexico the other day on an episode. And I'm kind of very intrigued by New Mexico's season next year, but Indiana was the easy one of like, I can't wait to watch them next year. I can't fucking wait to watch them next year. Yeah. So A+, I think that one is, and I think it would be sustainable. Now that does not mean making the playoffs every fucking year, but that means bowl games, winning record, money coming in.
Yep.
Can't wait. I think they're one of the most exciting stories in college football moving into this season and years to come. All right. Now staying in the Big Ten, and this is once again alphabetically, Sharon Moore, 8-5 in year 1 at Michigan, but
he gets an A.
I mean, this is a tricky one because I feel like you asked me in like October. I was like, yeah, I don't know about this. It kind of whiffed on the quarterback. Offense is complete ass, which is he's responsible for. But beating Ohio State at Ohio State and then capping that off with your B team beating Alabama, I think I gotta give it an A. Now it's not an A+ like Cignetti, but what do Michigan fans? First off, you're coming off a national championship. You're part of that staff. You even coached 1 or 2 games, I think it was, and so there's that. So I think the fans are happy with you. But then you beat Ohio State and Bama with your B team. I mean, Ohio State was with their A team, but I'm saying you beat Bama with your backup team at Michigan, pretty much. in Florida, right? Wasn't that in Florida? I feel like
yeah, it was at the Gator Bowl, I think.
Yeah, I think it was in Orlando, right? Like I think that saved the final 2 games, kind of saved his rating here. So, and then the fact they did land, the 5-star kid coming in there, the flip from LSU and Bryce Underwood. So momentum's good. I think the fans are happy with them. You beat Ohio State, doesn't matter. That's better than a national championship to some Michigan fans. So yeah, I'm with you. A, right?
They went under their win total for last year, so it's hard to give it an A. But considering they won as a 3-touchdown dog at Ohio State, and they won the national championship, and then beating Alabama again for a second straight year, I think I got to give it an A, just because of how they finished. And now, part of the reason they got off to a slow start was because they never got the quarterback figured out. They couldn't throw a forward pass. But I thought that they got better and better. They almost won at Indiana, who was pretty damn good, and then
but they never lose to Indiana. So if you're looking for one thing to maybe throw rocks at, is that you can't be losing to fucking Indiana, but it's a different Indiana.
Yeah, but I think beating Ohio State gives them an A automatically. Like, how can you not be happy? And then they recruited. So into your next question, I think the program's going up. I mean, that Underwood kid's pretty damn good. I know he's going to be super young and he'll make his mistakes, but they have a quarterback this year, unlike last year.
Yeah. I'll give it A. I know the chat's saying B. I think it's fringe, B+, A-, A. I think though, just the momentum.
Yeah.
You end the season like that with the flip from the kid from LSU, beating Ohio State at Ohio State, which means you're hosting them this year. Even better is Ohio State wins the Natty in a way, which is like, well, we still fucked you up, and then taking down Alabama with your backups is pretty fucking impressive. I think that salvages it. So yeah, I'm going to say A as well. Let's flip over to Michigan State, their arch rivals. Jonathan Smith, 5-7 in year 1. And, I can't help but draw comparisons. To me, this is kind of what I expected. I thought Michigan State had a hard schedule. I do think he's a really good football coach, but I am a little concerned about the fit in East Lansing. He's a guy who was Pacific Northwest his whole life. But he's like, to me, I'm going to throw him in the same category. We're going to talk about Willie Fritz in a little bit. Willie Fritz and Jonathan Smith, they don't strike me as guys that just walk in year 1 and bring, like they build. So I kind of, and Fritz had a losing season in year 1. I know Sparty's schedule is ridiculous this year.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's the hardest in the big Wisconsin or probably number 1, but I think Sparty might be number 2. But I feel like he kind of did what I thought he would do. And I just think this is one I still believe in the trajectory because I think he's a very good football coach. I just think we're talking next year. I think they're going to be similar to what this year was, but the year beyond that, I think they'll take a jump. But you can't be as excited. And I guess, like I said, Cignetti's fucking it up for all these guys because you're sitting there like,
yeah.
So I'm going to see, I'll say C+, like they're saying in the chat now, but I anticipated he's a builder. He's not one that just comes in. It's like Fritz. That was the best comparison to me would be Willie Fritz. We'll talk about a little bit. I did not expect him to kickstart this thing and go 10-2, right? Just because he didn't bring his whole team with him. So like you have to teach everybody what you believe in offensively, defensively, your whole philosophies. He brought Aiden Childs with him and a few other guys, but it was like 3 or 4 guys. What are you doing here?
I'll give it a C. I thought he was okay. I would have liked to seen them finish the season stronger in year 1. I didn't like them getting absolutely blown out the last week against Rutgers for a chance to go to a bowl. So that kind of was a head scratcher. Childs was up and down last year. I know he's super talented and he's a high upside guy, so we'll see how he progresses. But I like Jonathan Smith. I thought he did a good job at Oregon State. But like you said, I thought that this kind of actually C+ is probably. I don't think he was horrible. I mean, their win total was 5. He basically did what everybody expected, but he laid down the foundation. Cignetti ruins it for all these guys because it's like, hey, why can't we go 11-2?
And folks, what I'm alluding to also with Sparty's schedule, and this is the tricky question when you ask yourself the fate of the program. It's a tricky question to ask here because Michigan State does have money. They were in the college football playoff. What, I don't know, 10 years ago or so, 11 years ago. It's an honest question to ask because with Indiana thriving, Oregon and USC are in your conference now. UCLA might even have some momentum. I think Jedd Fish in Washington could get rolling. Do you, in this day and age of college football, do you even want a builder, or do you just want someone I need someone to come in right now? Because you look at that momentum with Cignetti, and then you look at Michigan State's schedule this upcoming year. First off, in the non-con, they have Western Michigan and Boston College. Now, both are in East Lansing, but I actually think both, if it's the Michigan State that played last year, which I expect them to be better, but still, Boston College beat them last year, and Bill O'Brien was impressive. We'll talk about him in a little bit. Lance Taylor and Western Michigan, I think, are a solid mid-major. And if you don't bring your A game, you could get beat there. Now, I'm not going to sit there and say that's murderer's row, but this is at USC, at Nebraska, home to UCLA, at Indiana, home to Michigan, at Minnesota, home to Penn State, at Iowa. And then guess what? You play Maryland, but you play them at Ford Field, you idiots. You fucking idiots. So, I mean, in my opinion, like you're going to have, now Youngstown's the FCS that they play, but even Youngstown, I mean, isn't fucking terrible. But I think the bigger thing is like, I look at, that's to me, like, who do you want to play in the Big Ten if you were a coach? You want to play Maryland. You want to play Rutgers. You want to play Northwestern. You want to play Wisconsin this year. Sure, throw UCLA in there, but they play like the best teams in this conference this year, dude. Like that is a fucking brutal schedule.
The only ones they missed were Ohio State and Oregon. This has got to be the worst conference schedule in all of America. They only have 3 home games because they're playing the one at Ford Field. They play 3 home games: UCLA, Michigan, and Penn State.
Now, I will say this. They played at Ford Field a year ago with Penn State fans. I think it was 2 years ago. Yeah. And that shit was 50-50. Maryland fans are not going to travel. If anything, Loxley's probably going to be fired by then. So they will have the crowd, but it's still stupid. It's a much more losable game at Ford Field than it is in Spartan Stadium.
Could they have the same record but be better?
Yeah, I think I definitely think they'll be a better team. But I look at the schedule and I say, okay, give me Western Michigan, give me Youngstown. Honestly, like I even think UCLA is playing better ball than them right now, and the fact it's not even that cold probably by October 11th, I think I would favor them. I mean, honestly, I think they're going to win like 4 games next year, 4 or 5. You know, so
schedule.
Yeah, absolutely brutal. So now let me ask you that question though, or I guess that I was kind of hinting at. By hiring a builder, the momentum is not going to be behind the program, but year 3, maybe they make that transition. So how do you feel about the future of Michigan State football?
Not as good as I do about Indiana. I think there's reasons to be optimistic because Smith has been a good coach at Oregon State, but this is a different league and a different state. And just, I don't know. I think that they're kind of right below that median line, I would say. I think they're bottom half of the Big Ten team another year, and then it's back against the wall year 3, or he's looking for another job.
Yeah. Yeah. It was an interesting fit from the start. It's a guy that was with Washington. You know, he was at Washington with Chris Peterson. And if anything, the minute he left Washington to go back to his alma mater, Oregon State, where he played, is when Washington kind of fell off. Yeah. And he was at Boise State before that with Peterson. So like he has been in the Pacific Northwest his whole fucking life, which is it's an odd fit to me a little bit, but I still think he's a really good football coach. So I'm just gonna have faith that this is gonna work out. I like the momentum of the program, but I don't think they're having a winning season this year. So there we go. Next up, Deshaun Foster at UCLA. They got Nico. 5-7 in year one, and I'll be honest, the best damn 5-7 in the country, in my opinion. I mean, probably. I joke, but I mean, Deshaun Foster. They have a new offensive coordinator. They went out and hired the guy from Indiana. I'm drawing a blank on his name right now, but they got their ass whooped. They were 1-5, and really they should have been 0-6. I don't know how the fuck they won that Hawaii game, but. Then they turned the corner, and really, I feel like they turned the corner against Penn State on October 5th because they played Penn State decently well. Penn State won by 16, but they played them better than I thought they would. And then they lost by 4 to Minnesota. And then, they beat Rutgers in Piscataway. They beat Nebraska in Lincoln. They beat Iowa at the Rose Bowl. And then they lose a couple close ones to Washington and USC. Then they beat Fresno in the finale. So they won, 4 of their final 6 games. You land Nico, 5-star top recruit. ESPN had him as the highest rated QB recruit ever, I believe, when he came into Tennessee. There's got to be a little bit of momentum behind that, though. Like, just the way you've looked past the eye test to me. They were kind of a gritty team. I haven't seen a UCLA team like that in a long time. I mean, he was 5-7, but I'm going to give this a B-. Like, considering he was 5-7, I think he overachieved with especially considering the hand he was dealt. Remember, Chip Kelly left a little late in the offseason too.
Nobody on that team.
Yeah. And a bunch of guys left. So I'm going to say B-. What are you doing here?
I'm giving him a B. I actually was impressed. I mean, you mentioned it. They were 1-6, and I was like, man, this is going to be a 2-10 team like we all thought. Because, I mean, it started rocky.
Hit the over. It was 4.5. Yeah,
I know. It started rocky with the press conference, and then it's like, oh, this guy doesn't know what he's doing. And then they found something in the middle of October. They went to Rutgers and won, Nebraska and won, and then they beat Iowa. So they beat 3 physical teams there in Rutgers, Nebraska, and Iowa. And then they almost even backdoored their way into a bowl if they could have beat USC. So yeah, I'll give UCLA a B, or Foster a B at UCLA, his alma mater. And it's going to be interesting. I mean, now you add Nico into the mix. You add Nico's brother as the backup. So you got I'm a believer, or whatever his last name is. And
well, that's the thing. And I remember interviewing Randy Cross back in August, and he was happy with Deshaun Foster. He said, "Get Chip out of here." I mean, he almost made some comments to Chip Kelly being like, if I see that guy, I got no problem, saying it to his face that he's a bum, right? Randy Cross is a UCLA alum back in the 70s, and with Dick Vermeil was the head coach. So he took it as in like Chip Kelly phoned it in recruiting. Deshaun Foster's from Southern California. He's going to be able to get that. And Randy Cross is an offensive lineman. Deshaun Foster's a running back. He wants to pound that rock. So I think you saw that toughness in the team a year ago. I'm with you. I think if you're a UCLA fan, you have to be thinking this is a good situation we have here moving forward.
They went on the road. That's what was impressive. It wasn't like, they picked a couple teams off out in Hollywood. No, they went to Nebraska and Rutgers in late October when it was getting cold, and they won a physical game.
So un-UCLA like. That's what I'm saying. Shout out to them. I was happy for Deshaun Foster here, so I'll give it a B. And I think they are headed in the right direction in terms of trajectory now. Yeah, me too. Folks, want to tell you the college football experience is brought to you by Edge Boost. Have you ever had your deposit blocked by your bank right before a big bet? We all have. Ever needed cash at 2 a.m. for another shot at the tables, but hit your ATM limit? Yep, been there too. Well, guess what? No longer do you need to have that happen because Edge Boost has your back. Edge Boost is the first ever bank account that's built for bettors. Edge Boost gives you fast, reliable access to funds, making it easier to move money when and wherever you need it without the delays that come with traditional banks. For you high rollers out there too, listen up, because you can move up to $250,000 a day on your Edge Boost Visa debit card with unlimited withdrawals. Yes, this works 24/7 as well for instant deposits. Never, ever wait for a wire transfer ever again. And it gets better every time you deposit into a qualified gambling account. You can earn cashback rewards up to 5% there. All this for no usage fees and no minimum balance. Edge Boost is a debit account, which makes it easy to get started. They don't even do credit checks. No minimum balance, no usage fees. Simply just verify your identity and boom, you're ready to go. So what are you doing? Go to edgeboost.bet. But when you do, use our promo code SGPN. Once again, that's edgeboost.bet, promo code SGPN. We're also brought to you by MyBookie. Hit on the San Antonio Brahmas yesterday. We are brought to you by MyBookie.ag. Look, MyBookie is your place to bet all this. We got NFL draft props. I'm betting UFL, NBA playoffs, NHL playoffs, college baseball. Check out the College Baseball Experience podcast as well. But I mean, there's a lot of stuff. MLB regular season. Plus there's props for every game. And for you two true degens, the MyBookie money bag, you need to check out. MyBookie also accepts customers from a ton of different locations, even outside of the States. You can easily deposit, get lightning fast payouts using crypto. So what are you doing? Head over to mybookie.ag, use our promo code TCE SGPN for 100% deposit match up to $1,000. Terms and conditions do apply. Once again, that's mybookie.ag, and don't forget our promo code TCE SGPN. All right, we are back on the College Football Experience. Cheers to Channing Brown. Once again, hop in the chat, youtube.com/the College Experience. We break down all 136 FBS teams here too. We also have the FCS College Football Experience and the College Basketball Experience, which we've been firing off episodes there. College Baseball Experience. It's all here, right here, folks. YouTube.com/the College Experience. Back to the coaching front in the Big Ten. So we had Deshaun Foster. Next comes up Jedd Fisch, who I did cash on the under, but I will be honest, that shit got dicey. I had the under. I had a lot of money on. By the way, I lost on UCLA. I had UCLA on the under. So Deshaun Foster proving me to be a moron. But this one I cashed at under 6.5 wins. And honestly, for a second there, because early in the year I felt all right. When Wazoo beat him, Rutgers beat him, I was like, yeah, I'm looking good. But I think it was maybe the SC win or the UCLA win that I thought, oh shit, is this guy gonna make me? Jedd Fisch, though, at Washington, after being at Arizona, comes in year one, goes 6-7, gets them to a bowl. Obviously, the year before they were in the national championship, but there was no way that was going to happen this past year with the amount of production that left to the NFL/Alabama following Kalen DeBoer. You know, this is one where I actually think he exceeded my expectations a little bit in year one. I thought this was going to be a 4 or 5 win team. I thought 5 at the maximum. So we got to 6. So, and that young quarterback in the bowl game, what was his name? I'm drawing a blank right now.
Williams.
That dude's going to be good. So I think he does have his future QB there, where that can be something to build on. So, I mean, I and he did such a good job at Arizona, and you saw what happened in year one without his guys. Now he brought a lot of guys with him from Arizona to Washington, but I'm kind of optimistic that this one looks better than what I thought it was going to be. I'll be honest. When he got hired at Washington, I thought Washington threw too much at him, considering he only had 1 year of being good at Arizona. So he exceeded my expectations. I'm going to give him a B, a solid B. The future, I think I'm still a little bit of a skeptic, but it looks a little bit better than I thought a year ago at this time.
Mm-hmm.
How about you?
I was going to say B. I thought they were solid. You kind of look at their losses. I mean, you lose at Penn State, you lose at Oregon. And at Iowa, those are going to be 3 tough places to win, no matter how good you are. So, but I was impressed in a couple of the big wins at home. I know USC wasn't that good from a record standpoint, but that's still USC when you're Washington. That's always a big win. They beat UCLA when they were hot, and then they beat Michigan as well. I mean, if the Rutgers, the field goal woes in that game go a different way, I mean, we're singing a different song and dance at 7-5, or the Wazoo game was a tight game too. So B, I think that he did a solid job getting to a bowl, having to replace 22 starters from that DeBoer exit. So yeah, I thought he did an okay job.
Yeah, I'm with you too, and I think the jury's still out. If anything, like I said, I feel better about the hire today than I did a year ago. So that's telling me something. So I guess it is heading slightly in the right direction. Yeah. Let's jump over. So that concludes the Big Ten, I believe. Let's jump over now to the SEC, where, speaking of Washington, Kalen DeBoer, everyone says it differently. 9-4.
Yeah, it's not very good there.
At Alabama.
Uh-oh.
That I do believe you can get your ass kicked. You go 9-4 again. You don't go to the local dive, Kalen. All right. This one's fascinating to me because Alabama fans, you knew this day. I'll be honest. I was a little surprised he took the gig. I know that sounds crazy because you're like Alabama, Gene Stallings, Bear Bryant, Nick Saban, every great player. There's so many great players throughout the history of the program. But I just thought, man, do you want to be that guy following Nick Saban? You just wearing the natty. Part of me is like, yeah, you capitalize because Washington going to get back to the natty entering the Big Ten. Maybe not, but I like Kalen. I think he's a good, sharp mind. And I do like the fact he reunites with his OC that came over from the Seattle Seahawks 2 years ago, Ryan Grubb, who was with him at Washington 2 years ago. And he missed him last year. Trust me. I truly believe that. So now he's back. Maybe that's encouraging going into this season. But 9-4, fans were not happy. They were calling it a Feinbaum, half drunk, just shitting on the guy and losing to Vanderbilt. They hadn't lost in Vanderbilt in a very long time. And the way they got their ass kicked by Oklahoma, who was not good. Okay, they lost at Tennessee. Tennessee's a good team, but I don't know. Like they did blow out LSU. They did blow out Missouri.
Beat Georgia.
They got very fortunate. Yeah, that game was wild. That's probably one of the more wild games of the whole season. But did beat Georgia. Should be happy there. She probably should have lost to South Carolina. Really, that game was kind of all over the place. Won the Iron Bowl, so he's got that in his favor. But I gotta say, the season went exactly how I thought. I think you could even find tape of me last season saying 8 or 9 wins at best, considering the culture change, the roster change, and this new SEC where his schedule's harder. So there's no more divisions and stuff. Well, I guess you could argue depending on, the SEC West was very challenging, but adding Oklahoma and Texas is my point. I'm nervous on this one, man, because if he goes 8-5 or 9-4 this year, I think I think he'll be on the hot seat enough where he actually might consider a different gig, pull a Calipari or something. You know what I mean? But I'm going to give, it kind of went the way I thought it was going to. I didn't have them getting their ass whooped by Oklahoma, and I didn't have them losing to Vanderbilt. So I will say it actually, I'm going to give it a C+ because it was the way, like, Vanderbilt whooped their ass on the line of scrimmage. Go back and watch that tape. They stayed ahead of the sticks. That just never happened before at Alabama. You got to go back to like 2002 or something when that happened. And even that, it wasn't Vanderbilt. So I'm going to say C+, but like, that's just because I think he's a good coach and I think it will work out. I don't know that it will work out because I think in my mind, I'm like, he'll keep the program good, but I'm like, they're not happy with good. I don't think it's going to work out here. I think he's going to be fired in 2 years.
He might get the Harsin treatment at Auburn.
Yeah.
His wife and shit. You're way more kinder than I am. I like DeBoer. I think he did a great job at Washington. I'm giving it a D. This is Alabama.
I know.
They won 11+ every year since 2008 under Saban. And
that's why he's insane to take the gig.
I know. And all the points you made is why I'm giving it a D. You're Alabama and you got manhandled on the line of scrimmage by Vanderbilt. You got blown out by Oklahoma, that was the worst Oklahoma team in 25 years. And you missed the playoff in the expanded format. The way you did, I got to give it a D, even though he did beat Georgia.
Maybe you're right. C-.
LSU. He had some nice wins. I mean, they were ranked number 1 in the country at one point, and and then I think the icing on the cake was losing to Michigan in the bowl game with Milroe playing. Milroe
with your A team. He had a lot of his guys play.
Yeah. Like I said, I think he's a good ball coach. I question the fit. Everything in life, and we're talking about Nico and different stuff with the portal. Everything in life is still fit. Some guys fit different places better, their personalities, the culture, fan base. Maybe he's just not a good fit at Alabama. This is a big, big year.
I mean, part of me is like, you stay at Washington, they build you a statue for if you go 9 and 10, Washington's got some good history. Don't get me wrong. It's not Bama, but I'm saying like they have had some really good years in the 80s, 90s and 2000s and even made the playoffs in 2014. So it's not like it's a shitty gig. I just feel like you put this pressure on you. I know Alabama's going to give you all the resources. I think that's probably the logic is like Alabama's going to give me all the resources. But it's a different day and age of college football. You heard their athletic director bitching for more money, which makes you wonder. It makes you wonder in this day and age. Like, I'm not going to say they're going to be a fucking bad program or something. I'm just saying they don't have the money through the alums that a lot of other schools do.
Yeah. Are there more 9 and 4s on the table and 8 and 5s rather than 11 and 2, 12 or like what they got spoiled? Saban spoiled the rest. That
so much.
That's not a fucking.
Not only Saban though, Gene Stallings, Bear Bryant, like it goes back a while. But Saban obviously with that tenure, just and Saban read the fucking tea leaves to me. I think him leaving, I don't think it was as much the transfer portal. I think it was like, wait, all these other teams are going to have access. We don't have the resources. You could hear it when he called out Texas A&M and Jimbo Fisher.
Yeah.
And I think he knew the writing was on the fucking wall. He's like, let me get out now while I'm still a legend. You make a good. I'll change mine to a C-. I think he's a good football coach. I just think he was insane to take the gig, and I just don't see it working out. I don't see them going. Like I think he's done in 3 years. 3 years, he's out.
This is a big year. This is a big
huge year. Huge fucking year. Next up in the SEC is Jeff Lebby, 2-10 at Hail State. Oh man,
that's a hard one to grade because they had no chance last year.
Yeah, it was a tough, especially when his quarterback went down for the season early on too. But you had the Zach Arnett experience after the Mike Leach tragic situation, and this team just seems to be all over the place. And they're also the least funded. We just talked about the future of the program, or future of, college football. They don't, I think by a decent amount, they are the least funded in the SEC, which makes it really, this job is very tricky. In a way, part of me could say I'm surprised Lebby took it because he was a hot name. You're like, man, if you wait another year or two, he was with Heupel at UCF. Was with Venables at Oklahoma when they won 10 games 2 years ago. It just makes you wonder, like, if you wait, could he have gotten a Big 12 gig? Could he have gotten, now I know the SEC money's good, but I'm saying, like, how the fuck are you going to win at this? I don't know how, at Mississippi State, you're supposed to be able to win, especially in this day and age. But I mean, he comes from Art Brow's school, which is somewhat Mike Leach's style. Maybe that's, the perfect guy to have, but I'm a skeptic. I'm public enemy number one though. He's a guy when he was at Ole Miss, when he was at UCF, when he was at Oklahoma, he would have that bitch ass quarterback slide. And hey, guess what? Your quarterback got knocked out for the fucking year, by the way, last year. And Dylan Gabriel's getting knocked out every fucking year too at UCF and Oklahoma. Maybe we should make that late abrupt slide illegal. God damn it, NCAA. Would you listen to me? It's the most dangerous play in football. But I don't like this hire. I don't think it's going to work out. I think in 3 years he'll be. Now, to be fair, I don't know how many wins. I think I had them going 3-9 last year. So, okay, he was one game less. See, I don't think, especially since he lost a starting quarterback. Okay. If you told me they would have lost the starting quarterback, I probably would have projected 2-10. So I'm going to say C. Do I think long-term it's going to be the answer? No, I do not. You?
No, I don't. I'll give it a C- just because you're 2-10, and it's hard to give anything better than a C- when you go 2-10. But I mean, when they had the starting QB Chapin, I mean, they almost went to Tempe and won. I mean, that was a good game, and Arizona State won the Big 12 and got to the playoff. They were chippy randomly middle of the year, like when they went to Athens and were competitive, and then A&M. But for the most part, it kind of was just a year to forget. I think that this program's in a bad spot. I mean, you lose Coach Leach the way you did, and it feels like this program's just going to have a 5-year bad run here. Unfortunately, you don't get a guy like Mike Leach every day, and what he made it look easy at Hail State, and build some consistency. I think that they're still licking their wounds, unfortunately, on that tragic.
Yeah, that tragedy there. Yeah, I don't know. It's just a weird hire too. I feel like everyone's catching up to that offense as well. Folks, want to tell you the college football experience is brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. Yes, if you haven't played Underdog Fantasy for stat projections, it is the best. You can play any sport and win up to 100 times the amount of money you enter in their Underdog Pick'em. So sign up and use our promo code TCESGPN to claim your special pick plus first time deposit offer up to $1,000 in bonus credits. Once again, UnderdogFantasy.com promo code TCESGPN. We're also brought to you by Rhythm. Rhythm is your home for AI-backed picks and props. They just dropped their models for MLB, Major League Baseball. They got models. I mean, we use their models for college hoops, college football. They still got models out there for NBA and golf. Pick so good it feels like cheating, folks. And one of the things I love is building my own model, using certain elements from some of the ones out there, and then forming it whatever you like. You can focus on. So, and Rhythm has some amazing deals going on right now. 25% off the monthly subscription with the promo code SGPN25, and 50% off the annual subscription with the promo code SGPN50. That's Rhythm, RITHMM, promo code SGPN25 or SGPN50. All right, we are back on the college football experience, and now let's jump over to Mike Elko at Texas A&M. Now 8-5 in year one, and I will say this: I'm a big believer that this hire is going to work. However, I was disappointed in year one. I had A&M to make the SEC. First off, I was on the over. I was also I had them to win the SEC because I thought they had a nice schedule. I thought the offense, and I was a little surprised when, Kevin Johns did a decent job at Duke. He didn't bring Kevin Johns with him. He went out and he got the quarterback from Colin Klein, right? Yeah. And I like Klein. I think it's going to work out wherever he's coaching, but I was a bit surprised in that approach. And I think that showed when you watched, out the gate, Notre Dame comes into Kyle Field and wins by 10, right? The offense just sputtering. Then though, they rattled off I think it was 7 straight wins, including a one against LSU, a win at the Swamp, an ass whooping against Missouri, winning the Southwestern Classic against Arkansas. And I was like, okay, I'm looking good. And then at South Carolina, they just got their ass whooped, right?
Yeah.
And then they take care of New Mexico State, but at Auburn, which I was scared of that game because the lead up, the Auburn game was the lead up to the Texas A&M game, but I thought they would get Texas this year. So I had them losing to Auburn. I did not have them losing to Notre Dame. So I had them losing to South Carolina and Auburn. But I did not have them losing to Texas, and for Texas to go in there and win 17-7 was super impressive. Both those games at home were they were offensively challenged. They scored 20 points in both those games. They lose the bowl game to USC. I don't even know what to make of that because both teams had their whole damn team out. So I'm really the way I look at it is 8-4 because I don't know what to make of the bowl game. But I still was a little bit disappointed. I thought the offense would be a little bit ahead of schedule. Now I still think he's a very, very good coach, and I think you got the guy. I can't wait to watch the progression. But it was it was underwhelming, I would say. So I'm going to say C with Mike Elko. But do I think that the future of the program's in good hands? I truly do. How about you?
You know, it's funny. It kind of was a Jimbo Fisher type year one where they should have been better. I thought that I'm with you, man. The schedule broke perfectly. And then for them to lose 3 out of their last 4 and really get drilled at South Carolina, then lose that game at Auburn the way they did, that crazy game, and then just lose to Texas at the line of scrimmage. I'll give it a C as well. I thought they were going to make the playoff as well, especially when they got those Missouri and LSU wins in mid-October. I thought, hey, they're heading in the right direction. They're going to get it done. But they did not finish strong, and that's kind of concerning, I think. But I do like Elko. I thought he did a hell of a job at Duke. He was good at A&M as a coordinator in his first stint. So I think he will get it to where it needs to go. But he may need to make a staff change or two. Who knows? We'll see. This is a big year for Elko because they don't need to throw up another 8-5 with that money that they're paying for their roster and coach. We just saw that with Jimbo for the last 6-7 years.
Yeah, and the schedule is much more tricky. You have to go to South Bend. You know, and you're getting Arkansas. That was a neutral. Now you got to go to Fayetteville. You got to go to Tiger Stadium, to Farrow Field, and then to the Austin, the Texas Longhorns in Austin there. So it is a much harder schedule this year. But I kind of see eye to eye, and that's one I did not see coming. I thought they would be better. That I was very wrong about that from a season ago. Next up, let's jump over to the Big 12. Brennan came into Tucson 4-8 in year one. I did cash the under here. I played the under in this one, and this is one that's somewhat tricky because I know they almost fired him after this year, which. First off, I think if they would have had the resources, they would have fired him. But Brennan is a guy. First off, he's loyal to that program. He's been connected to that program with Dick Tomey and stuff for a while. So I don't think you want to fire a guy that's been loyal to your program. But it was a super disappointing year, and I think it's even worse is why Arizona State had such a magical year. But I kind of expected this, man. Maybe I didn't expect 4-8 in the way they got their ass whooped in some of their games.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, but I kind of expected that. Like 2 of their starting defensive linemen from the previous year played at Texas in the playoffs. Right? Bill Norton made one of the biggest plays of the fucking season. Jonah Coleman, their star running back, goes to Washington. A bunch of their O-line, a bunch of their defense go to Washington. I just thought, and I just thought it was a very challenging gig for year one, and because you're coming into a year where they were red hot, so expectations were high. You're returning T-Mac, you're returning Noah Fafita, you're returning all these guys, but I was like, but you're not really returning the line of scrimmage, right? And I think it showed. So I actually, I've had maybe I'm biased because I've had a chance to sit down with Brent Brennan before when he was in the Mountain West, and he was a great interview for me, but I think the guy can coach football. I just think he needs some time. I don't know if he's going to be given that time. When you look at Arizona this year, first off, it's no joke that this school, it's been out there that the school lacks resources. That ain't good in this day and age. So David Matola saying, get this Brent Brennan bullshit out of here. He's a Wildcat fan. I think you should be patient, man. What he did at San Jose State, which was a hard gig, was very impressive. Now, are they the least funded in the Big 12? I think they may be.
Yeah.
So I can't say optimistically that I think that there's this is going to work, but I think he's a good football coach. And I don't think any coach could have walked in unless you did the Cignetti thing where he brought his whole team. And so I was wary of that from the start, but I don't know. I just feel like be patient. I think the guy can actually coach. Obviously, to me, I'll give it a D because they got their ass whooped and the win total was so much higher. I don't understand that win total, but I'll put it like this. The record is kind of what I thought it would be. I did not see them getting their ass whooped in some of the games they got their ass whooped in, though. So 4-8. Give me a D, but I'd say be patient with Brent Brennan. How about you?
Yeah, I like Brennan as well as a coach. disappointing year last year, and I think I kind of thought the same thing because they lost a lot in their defense, and they kind of just they were a soft football team in my opinion last year. They kind of, and once they got to league play, they got beat up in the Big 12. And I mean, it got blown out by BYU. Obviously, BYU was good. Colorado drilled them. Even West Virginia was up 3 scores in the fourth quarter, and then UCF beat them by 40. TCU by 3 touchdowns. Arizona State, the icing on the cake at the end of the year by 40. I think he will be all right. I think he'll figure it out this year, but I'll give it a D as well. This was a disappointing year. I think people fell in love with Fafita and McMillan, but they got to get the rest of their roster intact here. So big year for him. I do think he's a pretty good coach, though.
I just don't, and that's the thing that was surprising because San Jose State in the Mountain West when he was there, like they were a physical team. They were one of the more physical teams in his tenure. So, but I just don't know. The chat's talking about. Shout out to DB Cooper. The chat of them. He read an article about them lacking resources. I think that's why I'm weary of it working. I'm just weary of it working long term if they are truly, that broke. Maybe, I mean, you in a way, then you might have the right guy because to win at San Jose State, where their team would leave, like transfers would leave every year, he did a fucking good job considering that, and he won 1 Mountain West championship there. But I'm saying like he still went bowling a lot of times, beat Arkansas at Arkansas. So like maybe he is the guy for the gig in that regard. If you're truly broke, you need someone that can actually coach, untalented teams to a certain extent. So maybe in that regard, he is. How do you think of the future of the program?
I really don't know because they're, like you said, their NIL is not a good situation compared to the rest of the Big 12, and I don't know about the fit. Do you like the fit there at Arizona?
Well, I mean, I originally, because he had interviewed when they hired Fish, he interviewed and was one of their last, candidates. Now they ended up going with Fish, but the guy has ties with that program. He was at a GA at Arizona back in their heyday in the late 90s, early 2000s, I think. So, he has a bunch of ties to Dick Tomey, who's like their best football coach, in the past 50 years. Him and Rich Rod, I would say, would be the two ones that. So, I mean, in that regard, you're like, you do have an Arizona guy. It's just time. The college football is different now, and if you're lacking resources, it's going to be challenging.
It reminded me too of like Satterfield year 1 at Cincinnati, where he tried to like blend into what they had and not really put his thumbprint on it. Now, I don't think Satterfield's that good a coach. I think Brennan's actually a pretty good coach, but sometimes when you take over a successful program, you try and meet them halfway there and you try and blend in with their culture. Well, this is they're one of the more fascinating teams this year in the Big 12. Just if they can bounce back. I will say in the Big 12, it's a very boomerang league where you can have 1 year you're in the Big 12 title, the next year you can be 1-8 in league play. Ask Dundee. I mean, it's very.
I mean, you saw it with Arizona State last year, so yeah,
a ton of 1-score games in that league. So,
yeah. All right, next up, let's go to Willie Fritz. Where I felt like I talked on this earlier with Jonathan Smith. Willie Fritz, a guy that first off, long time fan. By the way, my over did cash, so thanks again, Willie. But and I think I took them on the money line against TCU and they beat them. But this guy, I've been doing it for a while with him, as far as just cashing tickets with Tulane. Killed it. Georgia Southern killed it. Go back to his FCS days. This guy's a fucking winner. He's going to make Houston good at some point. The question is, he builds though. You can follow it at each program. He's a guy that will build. He does not believe in just, hey, I'm just going to go, get all these guys. And it's a culture thing. He sets the culture. People got to have buy-in. That's why I compared it to Jonathan Smith. 4-8, they beat their win total 3.5. Right. I think he's the man for that. Like that could really get Houston going. Do I think it's this year? I'm not willing to buy. I think they'll make a bowl this year. Now, Will they contend in the Big 12? No, but I do think that's 2 to 3 years away. Be patient, Houston fans. You got the guy. Be patient. Based on last year, though, I'll give it. It's exactly what I thought. I thought he would win 4 or 5 games. So, see,
I was gonna give it a B because I thought they improved like we thought they would. I mean, they beat K-State. They ruined their chance at the title. Beat Utah, won at TCU. I thought they didn't have any talent last year, and they still. I mean, they should have won at Oklahoma week 2.
They should have. They should have.
So I thought they got better throughout the year, and they were competitive in Provo the last week. I'm with you though. They got the right guy. Fritz will get it going. He's just got to get some dudes in, and he's got to keep building. I know it's hard to build in this era, but he's a builder, and that's what he's done. He's won wherever he's been.
I think they're a bowl team this year, man. They're a bowl team. So,
100%.
And I like the future. Don't get crazy, Houston. You got your guy. Be patient. Be fucking patient. Next, we jump to the ACC with Bill O'Brien, 7-6 in year 1, and I must admit here, much like Jedd Fish, I did not like the hire initially. If you go back and listen to our recap now, or I'm sorry, our reaction show when that came out. I buy in more now, and I didn't realize, I think, how many years he had been with Ralph Friedren and George O'Leary and stuff. So like, I buy in a little bit more that he actually is a college coach. A lot of times I don't like the NFL coaches jumping down. I don't think it really very rarely works. Pete Carroll being like one of the only ones, but Bill O'Brien, I actually think was a college coach jumping to the NFL. So I think in hindsight, I would grade it differently. And I thought they looked the part year 1 better than I thought they would. So I'm actually going to give this one a B+ to me. And I think if you're a Boston College fan, I think you have a reason to be excited. I think he's got the program going in the right direction. How about you, Mac?
Yeah, I think B+. He maybe even A-. I mean, their win total was like 4 last year, and they shattered that. And to your point, they looked the part. They were competitive. They were physical.
Almost won at Missouri. Yeah.
Yeah. And then it started. I know Florida State ended up being bad, but Florida State had not quit at that time yet. They punched Florida State right in the mouth, right from the opening kick. Almost won at Missouri.
Should have beat Louisville. Yeah.
Yeah, and then they finished strong with the UNC and Pitt wins to clinch your winning season there.
Starting quarterback quit the team too.
Yeah, now he's at
Florida State, Castellanos. Yeah,
that'll go well. And shit, they almost beat Louisville. I mean, they had some close losses at SMU, who's the playoff team, in a tight game. So I'll give it a B+ as well. Billy Teapot had those guys playing, and I thought he did a pretty good job at Penn State once upon a time too. He took over when Paterno had all that crazy shit going on, and he stabilized it before going to the NFL. And his problems in the NFL were his GM parts. He always was a pretty good football coach, I thought.
Yeah. I mean, I'll eat my crow here a little bit. I thought, and the deeper the dive I did on, the more I realized I think that he's actually a good football coach. It's not a Lovie Smith situation here. Yeah.
It's Patty C's guy.
It is. Patty C called this shit. He called for Bill O'Brien to be head coach at Boston College for about 5 years. Past 5 years, he's been saying Boston College needs an O'Brien coaching. But they had Tom O'Brien. They need an Irish guy coaching them. And it's working out so far. Speaking of shock, this one.
Hell of a job.
A+ to me. This one, I just have to, like, I question this hire going from Elko to Diaz. Now, can he sustain it? We'll see. I will gladly admit this is, out of all the ones we've talked about, this is the one I'm most wrong of. Because Fish, I thought, was like 1 game, 1 or 2 games difference. This one, I actually feel like I was flat out fucking horrible at. Manny Diaz comes in and wins 9 games and beats Carolina, might I add, in year 1. And now there's a buzz around the university, or around Duke football. Still from the Elko. Well, it started with Cutcliffe some, then Elko. Now Diaz with 9 wins in your first year. this is this was the one where I will say, I'm an idiot. And what a great job in year one. A+. Can he sustain it? We'll see, because Chapel Bill is right across town. But I'm fascinated, and they've thrown some NIL money into Duke football, which, okay, I'm buying in. What do you make of this?
Yeah, I mean, if Cignetti hadn't done what Cignetti did, we would be saying this was the best job. And we'll talk about Fran Brown at Syracuse here in a second. This is an A+ as well for me. Also, look at their losses. They were right there to beat SMU, a playoff team, and then the Miami score was completely dressed up. They had the lead in the fucking third quarter, and then at Georgia Tech, I mean, that was a good team last year. So to go 9-3 and really they lost Riley Leonard to Notre Dame, the starting quarterback in the national championship. They lost their coach Elko
and the bowl game means nothing to me. They had no players for the bowl game, so they really went 9-3 in year one, which is fucking unbelievable. Fucking unbelievable. If there wasn't Cignetti, this guy would have been national coach of the year.
100%. What was their win total? Like 5?
I think it was less. I think it was like 4.5. I can't recall off the top of my head, but it was bad. Shout out to Manny Diaz and Duke. Next up, we will talk about Fran Brown. This one's A+++ to me.
Yes.
The only problem is damn it, had you just taken care of Stanford, you would have been in the ACC championship with a playoff berth on the line. Fran Brown and the Qs went 10-3 in year one. Year one, 10-3. Super, super impressive. And you look back at the year, they lose to Stanford by 2. They lose to Boston College by 6. This team was damn near 11-1. The only game they got their ass whooped was at Pitt when Kyle Honda McCord was throwing like 10 interceptions on a Thursday night.
Oh my God.
I know he's talking about receivers never going to make $2 million in my program. Get the hell out of here. And I commend him for that. I love the hire. I'm buying in, man. Now I do expect regression this year because you lost McCord and you lost some other talent, but so is it sustainable? I don't know, but I think he will have them winning more consistently than previous coaches. I'm walking a fine line here. Your thoughts?
Well, and this wasn't a soft schedule either.
Yeah,
they won at Vegas, who won 10 games. They beat they beat Ohio, who won the MAC. They beat UConn, who was a bowl team. So they earned their way to a 9-3, and then put it on Wazoo in the bowl game as well. He's got that place humming. There seems to be a different level of energy there with Fran Brown. A+ for me as well. I thought he did as good a job as anybody, and the icing on the cake was ruining Miami's.
I called that. I fucking called that in. Go listen to the Syracuse preview a year ago, last July. I said Miami will lose that game. It's going to be a pivotal game for them. They're going to go to Syracuse. They're going to lose. Hell yeah. Shout out to Fran Brown, A++. And you got to, if you're a Syracuse fan, you got to be thinking, hey, we got our guy. Let's not fuck this up. Let's throw some more money into the program.
Oh yeah.
Next up, let's jump over to the Mountain West. Spencer Danielson, 12-2 in year one and his first full season. Remember, he was interim for a couple games there the year prior. Kind of Sharon Moore style, but 12-2 in year one. Got Boise State to the playoffs. I think that's all I really need to say.
Hey.
Yeah, I don't think I go A++ because Boise's just been on fire. But I mean, they dropped off a tier. It seemed like with Avalos. Danielson's got that back to the that level of Dan Hawkins and Peter. Well, Chris Peterson had it really rolling. We'll see if he can sustain it like Peterson. If not, it'd be like Dan Hawkins or Brian Harsin. But I don't know how they lost by 3 at Oregon in a game that was a little bit. They deserved to win that game, in my opinion. So they were pretty damn close to being a 1-loss team with it being Penn State. I don't know how you don't give it an A. Yeah,
I mean, you go 12-1. Your only loss is at Eugene, the team that was a 1 seed, went undefeated. It's an A. I know he has the best roster, he has the best team, but they earned it. I mean, they went to UNLV and won. San Jose was tough. They beat them by 3 touchdowns on the road, and then beat Vegas again in the title game. So A for me. And that Penn State score was misleading as well. They had a chance to take the lead in the late third quarter. And
I'll commend them some too. Like they brought in Malachi Nelson, paid for this 5-star kid that USC had.
They played
and
Madison.
He played Madison, and he's made no mistake about like just because they're not. He says it's like we build up in our program, right? So like that takes some balls for a first year coach when you got $1 million quarterback there, and you're saying nope. I commend him in that regard, and I think that's some good coaching there. So. Yeah, I don't know how you don't have an A. And I think the fate of the program, obviously we have the looming Pac-12 after one more year in the Mountain West. I still think Boise's Boise. Not gonna panic. This team, they've been killing it since like 1998. So yeah,
They're
27 years of winning football
for a reason.
yeah. Jump in on that.
Yeah.
Let's go to Reno, Nevada. Jeff Choate. I want to talk about this one here. I am going to give this an A+. And
Really?
I know that you're going to say Dundee. What the fuck are you talking about? They're 3-10. God damn. First off, Jeff Choate, longtime Boise guy, one of the Boise gig. I like all those coaches off Peterson's staff. Really. I think, you look at 3-10, they should have beat SMU in the opener. They lost 29-24 against a team that fucking played in the playoffs, right?
Yeah.
They only lost to Boise by 7 at Boise. They beat Oregon State. I know there's not many wins on here. They beat Troy. Lost to Fresno by 3. I thought considering that they had basically Ken Wilson was the previous coach. They were fucking horrible. In my opinion, they were like a bottom 3 team in the nation. And in year 1, he came in and they went 3-10. But some of those games, they passed the fucking eye test on like, he's the guy for the gig to me. Like he's a guy that I actually don't know that they're going to be able to keep him. Because I think they're going to be a bowl team this year. And I think like they just passed the eye test to me. Only 3 wins, but I'm telling you, and go watch the tape on a lot of those games. 35-31 loss to a San Jose State team that won 7 games, right? They did shit the bed against Air Force, but by then Calhoun's team had started to actually have a pulse. Should have beat Georgia Southern, which was a bowl team. Like that schedule was really hard last year, I thought. So I really like this one. I think this is like the diamond in the rough. There's a couple diamonds in the rough here. I think Choate in Nevada, they found something. The problem is, can you keep him? Because if he goes bowling this year and you win again the next year, and remember, this guy was the head coach at Montana State not long ago. He can coach football, in my opinion. So curious your thoughts.
Yeah. Was with Sarkisian as well at Texas right before this. I had it as a B+. All to your point. The only reason I couldn't give it an A is because they could not finish a lot of these 1-score games. They lost 6 out of the 10 were 1-score games. So, I mean, we like to profile teams that we think that could flip it with a little bit of the ball bounces your way the next year and you get on the right side of some of these 1-score games. 6 out of the 10 were 1-score losses. And to your point, I mean, they beat Oregon State and they won at Troy. They seem to be headed in the right direction because going into the year, we thought this was one of the 10 worst teams in college football.
Yeah, no, I thought the hire, I was like, he was good at Montana State. I was like, and he was part of Boise staff for a long time. So I was like, I think it will work, but it's not going to be this year. I lost money. I took the under and the over hit, but
he should have beat SMU week 1.
Should have beat SMU, man.
Crazy.
Should have beat SMU, man.
Week 0. The game was like 50 degrees in the middle of August. He had that defense playing hard. That's what I was impressed with. They were chippy. And that's what you like to see for a first year head coach is they never quit on him and they kept playing hard.
Yeah. Next up, let's go to Albuquerque. Oh, we just dropped an episode about this. Bronco Mendenhall. I gave this an A+ a year ago on the hire, and I think I was accurate. because we smashed the over. Me and NC Nick smashed the over just because I was like, Mendenhall will fight. Like, I thought the schedule was incredibly challenging, but I was like, he'll find wins. He did just that, 5-7. Only problem is he did so well, he's gone. So state of the program is hard to assess, but I'm going to say what they won 2 games the year prior. He more than doubled that. Almost should have, if they beat Montana State week 0, which they blew a 17-point fourth quarter lead, they would have been bowling. I think it was an A+. The only problem is it was one and done. So I can't, this is unlike all the other ones. We can't talk about the future of the program. Go listen to our episode though. We talk about that with Jason Eck. We have a Bronco Mendenhall to Utah State and Jason Eck to New Mexico episode out there we did last week. Go listen to that. But your thoughts here.
Yeah, the state of the program is Utah State's going to be pretty damn good in the future. So the future of that program's in good hands. Yeah, I give it an A. They start 0-4, and they still almost find a way to get to a bowl game because that's what Mendenhall teams do. They get better throughout the year, and they have an identity every year with this guy. So I can't wait to see him in Logan. I know New Mexico fans don't like hearing that, but I like the New Mexico hire though too. So
yeah. Go check out that episode because I think you responded well. Next up, let's talk about Sean Lewis at San Diego State, 3-9, and this is one I ate shit on too. I thought the over would hit here. I'm a bit concerned, but it's another one. I'm like, do it. Is this another build it one? Because he had great success at a very challenging program at Kent State, but the MAC, some of that shit can be timing. We talked about this the other day. I kind of love the coaching in the Mountain West right now. So it makes me kind of hesitate a little bit more. Now I had Sean Lewis on the show, super, upbeat guy, wants to play super fast, has Darian Hagan on his staff. I like Sean, and I think he's a good coach. They did not look as good as I thought they would look. So I'm going to say it was a C-, disappointing. I still think they'll give the guy time, but it was very, very disappointed in year one. Mac, your thoughts on the Aztecs?
Yeah. So I feel like this is like the third or fourth guy that I like him as a coach. Just look at what Kent State's been since he left there.
Yeah. One win, I think, right?
Yeah. I'll give it a C. I'll give it a C. They kind of folded the second half of the year. Couldn't get a stop defensively. His style is unique. I mean, he wants to play that chaotic up-tempo thing. So maybe it takes a year to get some more guys in. But yeah, that underwhelming to go 3-9 because I thought they probably should have been closer to a 4 or 5 win team last year. Agreed. So we'll see what year 2 means, but I still think be patient. You probably got the right guy. A little more wary, especially considering they're about to jump to the Pac-12 and add Oregon State and Washington State in the mix. But I still think be patient. Next up, Ken Niumatalolo lands at San Jose State. They went 7-5 in the regular season, lost the bowl game in like 7 overtimes without some of their best players. So he ends up 7-6, but A+, A fucking plus. I mean, we had him on the show last year. He greatly, San Jose State had lost a couple guys. So I took the over blindly because I think Niumatalolo is a hell of a football coach, but they just looked better than I thought they would. Craig Stutzman running the spread and shred offense. He's back, and I know he's been speaking bullishly about his team too, which loses Nick Nash, a guy that's going to be in the NFL draft. But I think he adds a toughness to his team that, like, I know Brennan had them tough, but I felt like he just continued that. If anything, maybe even a little tougher. I love it. I think it's a home run. And I think here's another thing. Blessing in disguise. They're not part of the new Pac-12. Yeah, they could dominate the Mountain West.
They could, man. When you look at this, you're like, wait. So Colorado State's gone. Fresno State's gone. UNLV's gone. Or no, UNLV's staying, but they have some. I feel like San Jose State's actually gotten the best of UNLV recently, but San Diego State's gone. A lot of your Boise, obviously, they might be the team to take advantage of that. A+. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I love Ken. I thought he got robbed at Navy. I mean, a lot of people thought they were going to be the worst team in the Mountain West last year. Down there with New Mexico and Nevada. I guess all three of them overachieved. This is a good coaches league, to your point. So yeah, I'll give him an A. Get to a bowl game when there was no expectations, and I thought he did a really good job, and those guys played hard for him. So yeah, give me an A, and that was a crazy bowl game loss to South Florida. Was that the Hawaii Bowl?
Yeah, without, dude, if they would have had it, they had a couple guys sit out. That I'm like, man, they would have won that thing had they played. But I guess you could probably say the same for South Florida. I love that hire. I think he's bullish on this year's team. Just from hearing him talk a couple times, it's going to be exciting to watch San Jose State this year. Yeah, he is a really good coach. Okay, this one back to me being a pain in the ass on a few of these ones. Jay Sawvell, a Craig Bowl guy through and through. Craig Bowl retires. He passes the torch over to Sawvell. I loaded up. I had a lot of money on Wyoming. They were horrible. I know some say that it's Jay Johnson, the OC hire, which I did question, but I didn't think they would be losing. They lost to Idaho from the FCS. You know, they got their ass whooped by North Texas by 27 points.
Yeah.
You know, now they did play Boise really tough. Like you could make an argument down the stretch. They ended the season with a win at Wazoo. Down the stretch, I mean, they played San Jose State within 10. Played, you know, they lost a lot of close games besides, you know, the month of September, but they returned a ton of production. And that was was very surprising. This one I was way off with. I just thought with them returning the O-line, I thought one of the better O-lines in the Mountain West, I thought they would be pretty good. I thought they'd be 7-5. I actually think I took a future on them to potentially win the Mountain West because the odds were so good. They were terrible. They were terrible. 3-9, very disappointing. So I will give it a D. I don't want to panic though, because like I said, so if you count, you know, a 4-point loss to Idaho, well, it was an FCS playoff team, right? 3-point loss to San Diego State, 10-point loss to San Jose State, 2-point loss to Utah State, 4-point loss to Boise. Okay, September was tough, but it normally is with first-year coaches. But all those other losses are after September. I trust Craig Bohl's staff, man. Like that's why I was so shocked at this. Craig Bohl's was a great coach, and I feel like they're gonna fix this somehow, some way. Now I know they always get rated in the portal. Maybe that's another angle too. This is a big year for him though, because they were super disappointing from a year ago. So I am a little concerned, but I'm going to just have blind faith that Craig Bohl knew what he was doing. How say you?
I think I'll go D+, just because they did fight the second half of the year. I mean, another team that had some 1-score losses. I mean, 3 out of their final 4 losses were 1 score. They did win in Pullman. They did win in New Mexico. That's another game that ruined New Mexico's bowl streak. Wyoming going in there. So disappointing year, but I liked promoting within at the time. I want to give it another year. Let's see if they can bounce back this year. So TBD on trajectory for me here. Disappointing, but I think he's a good coach.
Yeah. Next up is Trent Bray at Oregon State. We talked on Washington State. Just a second ago, we talked about how Wyoming beat Washington State, but Oregon State was a team that was I thought one of the hardest teams to read coming into the season because their whole goddamn team was gone. Mm-hmm. Damian Martinez was at Miami. DJU was at Florida State. You know, Aiden Childs, their backup quarterback, was at Michigan State. The 90% of the staff was at Michigan State. Bolden, the wideout, went to Texas. You know, they just got rated. Their best linebacker goes to USC. Best safety goes to USC. So I didn't know what to make. Now, I did take the over just thinking Oregon State at home. Bray's an Oregon State guy, so the culture is still there. He was on the staff with Smith. So I was a little surprised they went 5-7. I was a little disappointed, but I didn't know what to make of the fucking team though. Like you have that many new faces. I'm going to give this one a solid C+ because I don't know what they should have been. You know, I part of me was like, well, the culture will still be intact, and I guess it wasn't as intact as I thought. I thought like 7-5 would be maybe even 8-4. So I'm going to say a little disappointing in that regard, but I thought it was one of the hardest teams to project coming into the season. So I'm not going to panic yet. Your thoughts here?
Similar to Wyoming, but a little bit more positive. I'll give it a C. I thought the home losses were the ones that I thought were a little concerning. I think you got to find a way to beat San Jose State at home, or even a UNLV to get to a bowl game. I think that this program should have found a way to get to a bowl game. I know Jonathan Smith took everybody.
They were 4-1 too. 4-1 at one point.
I know, and then they just collapsed. So second half of the year was a nightmare. And had a couple blowout losses. I mean, losing by 4 touchdowns at Air Force in a down year for Air Force was puzzling. But yeah, I think that Bray he's an Oregon State guy. He loves his university. I think he is going to be the right guy for the job. So another guy I want to wait and see, but I'll give it a C year one. It kind of like his mentor. I mean, okay.
Yeah.
Not great, not horrible.
Agreed. Next up, we're going to go to the only AAC coaching, hire from a year ago. Jon Sumrall walks in after being at Troy, goes to Tulane and goes 9-5, really 9-4. No one played in that bowl game. I was listening to another college football podcast the other day where they're just saying, well, Florida destroyed Tulane in the bowl game. That was a great win. I was like, well, Tulane didn't have their whole goddamn team.
Yeah. They didn't have the though in the championship game.
Yeah, they did. And I was all over Army, by the way. But Jon Sumrall, 9-5 overall, if you include that bowl game. I think he did a great job sustaining what they had. Remember, they had, lost some key guys that followed Fritz. There was 3 or 4 guys that followed Fritz to Houston. Also, Michael Pratt had graduated. And they'd lost a few other guys to some NIL opportunities. So considering that, I am going to give this a solid A. I don't think it's going to be an A+, but I will say this. They got to be kicking themselves for losing the Kansas State game because they had no business losing that fucking game. They were up a lot of that game. And I know that's what happens when you start a freshman quarterback, but I thought they were pretty impressive passing the eye test in a lot of these matchups, considering they had lost so much the year prior. So solid A. I know they also throw more money in than a lot of other programs in the AAC. So that's why it's not an A+. But your thoughts?
And kind of everything we said with Boise. Say it with Tulane. Not as impressive as Boise, just because Boise I think was a little bit more dominant. But I mean, they freaking had K-State on the ropes. Even the Oklahoma game, it was competitive on the road in Norman. And then they ran off 8 in a row in AAC play, and finally they lost to Memphis, the final game of the year on Thanksgiving. I know they lost at Army. I made making a joke there because I do love my Black Knights, but that was a tough matchup at West Point in December, cold weather. I mean, they were never going to win that game. But yeah, overall, good year for Sumrall coming over from Troy. He did a good job carrying Fritz's foundation and continuing on.
Yeah, there was a couple super impressive wins. They dropped 71 points at UAB.
Delpher.
I mean, unfucking believable. They also beat Navy, a good Navy team, 35-0 in Annapolis. Those 2 wins alone. Yeah, super impressive in that regard. So yeah,
they beat South Florida by 40.
Yeah, I mean, actually, maybe it is an A+. When I think about it, I'm like, they fucked up some of these teams. Temple by a shit ton. Yeah. What's that?
They beat the teams they were supposed to, and they beat them in convincing fashion.
Yeah. Yeah. So super impressive in that regard. And I think the more time you can keep him, the better, because I think that program's only going to continue to shine. We'll see if you can keep him, though. I know he's got ties to Kentucky and stuff. So a lot of people have been saying no Stoops. He steps down. Sumrall's the guy. We'll see. Next up, the Buffalo Bulls. Woo!
Coach Lembo.
Oh my, nobody goes to Lembo Field there in Buffalo, New York, and catches a dub, because this is proof that, to me at least, with so he was hired late. Maurice Lindquist was hired, was the head coach at Buffalo, and he left to be the D-backs coach at Alabama. It was kind of shocking, because you're like, sitting coach leaves to be DB coach. So they built this narrative of like college football is crumbling, but then Buffalo takes, the special teams coach at South Carolina. So what is that? You're taking an SEC school, or you lose a coach of the SEC, you're taking one from the SEC. So but boy, was it impressive what Pete Lembo did, considering that Navy had lost that Buffalo had lost some key guys to the portal too, once the Lindquist thing happened, and the timing of how late it was in the offseason. I think it was like early February or mid-February when they hired him. This was one of the most winningest years. This is like back to the Leipold era. This is, to me, you can make a case that you can make a case. This is like short of Cignetti. I'd put this right there with Manny Diaz in a way of like, this is an unbelievable coaching job. Your thoughts?
Yeah, exactly what I had down. He was the Manny Diaz and Fran Brown of the MAC here. I mean, what a job. 9-4. They beat, I know Liberty had a bunch of guys out, but to finish that off, 9-4, 6-2 in the MAC, almost got to the MAC title game when he took the job late. And of course they had that Western Michigan game was back and forth, just like all the MAC games. But yeah, I thought it was a great job year one with Lembo. And how can you say the program isn't headed in the right direction? So trending up for me, Bulls fans.
Great hire. Yeah, he was, he did a good job at Ball State. Thought he got a raw deal at Ball State when he was the head coach. Had a couple tough years, but their team passed the eye test. I think he's a great football coach, man, and I think Buffalo's in a good spot for years to come in that conference. So yeah, this is an A+ to me, and I think it's one of the better hires of the whole. And this goes to show, though, Colorado, one time Mel Tucker left in like late February, early March, and they hired Carl Durrell. And it didn't really work out. It was a lazy hire. This goes to show, if you got your shit together, a lot of people were like, who the fuck is Pete Lembo? They knew what the hell they were doing. So shout out to the Buffalo Bulls. Great hire there. Let's go to the Sun Belt where Del McGee went to Georgia State. This is one that I'm actually going to give a B. Honestly, like, this was one of the better, like, okay, so I came into the year thinking this is terrible. This was the latest season hire. Sean Elliott had left for South Carolina, a sitting head coach. So this one I was like, okay, it's really just not going to work for them, right? Like, this is Del McGee's being thrown into a tough spot. They also scheduled a month on the road, which what?
I remember that.
I've never seen that in all my years of watching college football. I mean, at least maybe go back to the 80s or 90s or something like. And to me, I know they're 3-9, but they beat Vanderbilt. That beat Alabama, right? Anytime you get a Power 5 win, fucking milk that thing, especially a bowl team in Vandy with Diego Piscopavia. But another thing is, look, I know they had that month on the road where they, of course, lost all 4 games. And honestly, like, they passed the eye test, though, man. 7-point loss at a good UConn team. 7-point loss at Kid Brewer in Boone, North Carolina. 7-point loss to Arkansas State as a bowl team. Ruined Texas State's chance, just put up 52 points at Texas State.
That was crazy. Yeah.
I mean, look, I didn't expect this team to be any good considering the cards they were dealt. I thought, much like Nevada, I think this is an encouraging 3-9 season. I like it. I was impressed. It was better than I thought it was going to be. How about you?
to your point, JD's been putting up some of the ATS records. That's a good indication sometimes. They were 8-4 ATS. Yeah, I'll give this a B- just because they were 3-9, but a lot of 1-score losses, 5 1-score losses. So maybe a team that the ball bounces the right way this upcoming year. But all things considered, getting the job late and find a way to be competitive and having to play the whole month of October on the road, get a better schedule this upcoming year, George.
Yeah. Fuck is that? Who's your athletic director? Yeah.
That's crazy. I mean, goddamn. The SEC, they just play all home games. Georgia State's like, all right, we'll just play all road games.
We'll just do all fucking road games here. But yeah, I mean, shout out to Dick Gertzberger in the chat. Yeah, I'm giving him a B. I know it's 3-9, but like, I thought this team, considering Elliott leaving when he left, I thought I was like, man, they're gonna be like 1-11 or 2-10, 3-9, and then a Power 5 win, and then a bunch of close losses to solid teams. I was impressed. Speaking of impressed, Bob Chesney at James Madison. Good God. 9-4, and now I know your JMU fans are probably kicking themselves because they should have been 10-3. They blew a 17-point lead to Marshall at home, and should have went to the Sun Belt Championship. So I can understand the pain, the misery there. However, Bob Chesney went into Kenan Memorial Stadium in the third game of his career coaching in the FBS.
Won by a zillion.
And scored 70 points at UNC. 70 fucking points. That game, I could not believe that. I mean, I'm a Chesney guy. Go listen to the FCS show. I thought he did a hell of a great job at Holy Cross. So I liked the hire, but I did not think it was going to work like this year one. A+ again. I think this is one of the best hires. I mean, yes, they shit the bed. They should have played for the Sun Belt Championships, but considering year one, great fucking hire. Your thoughts on Bob Chesney to JMU?
I had him as a B+. I thought he did a really good job. I was a little disappointed in some of the road losses. The one at Monroe, they're got to be kicking themselves too. They gave that game away. The Marshall home loss was a crazy loss, double overtime. But I mean, this program's in a great spot. If 9-4 is kind of a down year or disappointing year, it shows you how good JMU has become. And Cignetti, and then Chesney's a really good coach. He did a great job at Holy Cross. And that was, I mean, not only did he win at Carolina by 20, they beat the shit out of Charlotte week 1 by like 4 touchdowns. First game. And they grilled
I had money on Charlotte that game. I had money on Charlotte that game. Oh my God, man.
Yeah.
I was like, OG there, but yeah, Chesney, man, just rolling. Major Applewhite to South Alabama, 7-6 in year one. But you know what? That was better than what I thought. I'm going to give this one a B. Gio Lopez emerged. Now, unfortunately, he's North Carolina's quarterback. But they got Fluff Bothwell, our boy. I'm going to give it a B. I think 7-6 was better than what I intended, or like I thought it would be like more like 5-7. So, yeah, I think it was a solid first year for Major. How about you?
I'm trying to remember if I said 6-6 last year when we did this, because I remember doing this preview with you. Yeah, I'll give it a B. I thought that they kind of beat who they were supposed to beat, and they lost who they were supposed to lose to. It does suck that they lost Gio Lopez, but I mean that kind of is life in the portal now in 2025. So I don't know. I'm interested to see this new look Jaguars next year 2 of Applewhite. But all things considered, I thought he did a solid job fielding a competitive team in year number 1 down there in Mobile.
Yeah, and I think you got to be encouraged thinking, for the future, maybe we do have our guy. Gerard Parker. I was a skeptic of this hire to
Neil
Troy.
Brown guy.
Yeah. Former Notre Dame offensive coordinator. They go to the Natty without him. I'm joking. I mean, I don't want to shit on this guy too much, but I'm just saying I thought the hire was completely kind of out of left field. So 4-8 in year 1. I mean, I kind of thought 5-7 was what they would do. Maybe 4-8, I guess. I was on so it's kind of what I thought. I'm going to give it a D. The hire didn't make sense to me. I still don't know if this will work out long term here, especially with Neil Brown unemployed right now. Your thoughts?
Well, I mean, he was Neil's offensive coordinator at West Virginia for a year, so I think that's how he got the job. Yeah, I mean, I thought they were kind of underwhelming. They did win 3 out of their last 4. So if there is like a glass half full, I would say that's it. But for the most part, I'll give it a D+, just because Troy's been a good program over the last decade plus, and they're better than 4-8. So they were horrible at the beginning of the year. So they got better. But yeah, you should not go 4-8 at Troy, in my opinion.
Yeah. This one,
he did.
Bryant Vincent. I think he did an unbelievable job considering. First off, UAB passed on him and hired Trent Dilfer, which was disrespectful because Bryant Vincent had stayed the course with the program. 5-7 year one to me, shit. 5 wins like winning 11 games at ULM. I mean, shit, them and like I'm encouraged. Of course, I got General Booty on the roster, that helps. But I this is to me. I'm going to give this an A. It's 5-7, but it's like, could you have found anybody to go 5-7? I don't know that you could have. So I'm buying in because you could say hire Curt Cignetti. That the whole team wouldn't have followed JMU. JMU has more money than ULM, so you couldn't have done that. I think this is like, and this is one of the ones I think that lacks resources the most in college football and the FBS. I think this is a really good coaching job in year one. Beat JMU, shit. Your thoughts?
And won at Troy. And like you said, beat the shit out of UAB. Stuck it to Dilfer. That was so great. And they had to play 2 SEC road games. They had to go to Texas, to Auburn. That's a tough tan right there. And at Marshall, I mean, all things considered, I think Vincent an A year one. I mean, what else are you expecting year one at UL Monroe? Oh,
if you're in Monroe, Louisiana, you're buying into like, hey, we're not that bad. We could make a bowl, next year. And year one to win 5 games. No, I think you're buying in. You're buying season tickets, and I think that's half the battle at ULM. You're trying to get people excited about watching the product there, and I think in year one he instilled that. So yeah, A.
It's too bad he could not have pulled out that Marshall game or the Arkansas State game to get to a bowl in year one. That would have been
huge, huge. Derek Mason at Middle Tennessee, 3-9. I actually like Derek Mason as a coach and as a person, and maybe he is the guy that can fix this. But I just want all the people to acknowledge, I would battle with some Middle Tennessee fans that wanted Rick Stockstill out. Well, you got him out, and you were 3-9. Now it's year one, so I'm not ready to just throw Derek Mason under the bus here, but you were 3-9. And you got your ass whooped in a lot of games. All right. Including 100 miles of hate where you just got destroyed by, I don't know. It was like, 30 points. I feel like, you also got whooped by a terrible or a bad La Tech team. You lost to New Mexico State, who I think is not very good either. So like, there's no sign of encouragement that this is going to work besides just Derek Mason being a guy that did all right at Vandy at times, was a staffer for Harbaugh at Stanford. So you're like, maybe there's that, but I think you guys were crazy to want Rick Stockstill gone. This guy won 10 games at fucking Middle Tennessee, beat Maryland, beat Missouri and shit. Like, I don't think that's going to be happening with Derek Mason. Now, doesn't mean he can't still be a bowl team. And maybe that's still solid, but I wasn't higher on the hire just because I thought Stockstill was very good, and to force him out the door, I thought was crazy. Now, that's not a shot against Mason. Maybe Mason works out, but your thoughts?
I got to give this a D, I think. They're 3 wins: Tennessee Tech, FCS; Kennesaw, newly FBS; UTEP, first-year head coach. Those were their 3 wins.
Tennessee Tech was a 1-score game too.
They all were one-score games.
Yeah.
So I guess Kennesaw was 14-5. And like you said, when they lost, they didn't just lose. Like I've been highlighting some of these guys that got a couple tough breaks, lost some one-score games. They didn't have any one-score losses. They just got drilled every single week, except for those couple wins that they had. So yeah, I'll give this a D. Not a good first year.
Like Stockstill was 4-3 or 4-8 in his final year, but before that, 8 wins. Before that, 7 wins. I mean, this guy took them bowling. You know, they were bowl eligible. You know what? 10, 11, 12 of his what? 17 years there. So, good luck. Maybe you can find somebody. Eddie George might have made sense, but I don't know. We'll see what Derek Mason can do. Maybe, I don't want to write him off as a bad coach yet. Next up, Tony Sanchez. I believe this is the second to last one. Tony Sanchez. This one, look, this is a D-/F to me because I hated the hire from the start. I know he's a former player there. That's the only thing I'll say. Maybe I'll make it a D- just because of that. I thought they lose Jerry Kill, and I still say I don't know what fully happened there, but to not retain Jason Beck, to not get Nate Drilling, to not get any of their coaches that went on to, not Jason Beck, by the way, it's Tim Beck, their OC at Vanderbilt that was at New Mexico State previously. I just thought it just seemed like what the fuck was happening in Las Cruces. Now they went with their guy. He was on Kill's staff, but I think that was kind of a homer play because the guy played there. Sanchez did a bad job at UNLV. So I was a skeptic. I faded the shit out of them this year. Cashed on it too. But you're back to being New Mexico State. Like, I don't understand what the fuck happened there. I don't think he's a guy that's your long-term answer. I think he's gone in 2 years, 3, maybe 3 years because he's one of their own. I don't think it was a good hire. I still don't think it was a good hire. Your thoughts?
Yeah, kind of everything I just said about Middle Tennessee, D. They got drilled. They got drilled in a lot of games. Kind of were uncompetitive, and they were coming off a good year with Jerry Kill, getting to the Conference USA Championship. I know they lost Pavia, and that's kind of a big loss, and a lot of those other guys went to Vandy. But I mean, their wins were Louisiana Tech in a double overtime crazy game. That middle team that we just said was horrible in SEMO. So bad first year. We'll see what happens year 2.
Yeah, and the final coach on the slate is Scotty Walden. Love his energy, painting himself orange at the basketball games, going to UTEP basketball games, getting the fans involved. And I know UTEP. You know what? I'm going to give this one a
they
C+.
Got better.
Well, they not only did they get better, his enthusiasm. He got them to donate money into their football program.
Yeah.
So, I that alone. I've always said UTEP's like a sleeping fucking giant. I don't understand. It's a gigantic fucking city. You have no football schools within a decent amount, like hours of a drive, besides, New Mexico State, right? I don't understand why you're not better. And I think the potential's there. They're going to the Mountain West, obviously replacement team in the Mountain West, which I love because and by the way, Mountain West, if you're listening to this, put the championship game at the Sun Bowl in the mountains because you are the Mountain West every year. One of the best stadiums in all of college football. I do think they had a lot of close losses, man. Early in the year, obviously embarrassing loss to the Thunderbirds of Southern Utah, but fought hard with the bowl Colorado State team, lost by 10. Took down Florida International at the Sun Bowl there. I felt like you should have beat La Tech, but lost by 4. Lost to Derek Mason, Middle Tennessee by 7. You took Kennesaw, took overtime, and then you took down New Mexico State in the rivalry game there. So, you won the rivalry game. You got some more money into the program. I kind of think I'm more optimistic on this one. I think it could work. You?
It is a little bit of a gimmicky offense every time I watch them, but yeah, they went 3-3 the last 6 games at least. So at least they got better throughout the year. I think they finally started taking on Walden's energy and his identity, and he's a maniac on that sideline. So I'm looking forward to watching him again in year 2 in those Tuesday, Wednesday CUSA games in October. I'll give it a C just because they kind of got drilled, but then they didn't quit on him. So I like seeing that headed into year 2.
C+ because more money coming into the program.
Money does matter, yeah.
Yeah. Money matters, folks. All right. Look, we just rattled off all of ours. Now let's do a top 10 and leave the fans with. I think we all have number 1, but I think the fans want to know. To me, it's the best coaching jobs. This isn't the future. This is grading on year 1. Who the top 10 coaches. That's the way I perceived it to be. So I'll start things off at number 10. I gave it to Bob Chesney, James Madison. 9 wins, scoring 70 points on a Power 5 at their place. Not many Group of 5 teams have ever done that. Ever. Like I've tried. I honestly that might be the only one. I'd have to like check out some of those UCF teams. No, actually, I'm sorry. There is another one. ECU did it to North Carolina in Keenan Memorial Stadium with Shane Carden and company. So there hasn't been that many is my point though. So that's my number 10 is Bob Chesney at JMU. At number 9, I have Jon Sumrall at Tulane. You were able to maintain it. You lose Michael Pratt to the NFL. You lose a couple other key guys on that team and able to maintain it 9 wins. And the way you whooped ass in some of those games was super impressive. At number 8, I put Bill O'Brien, really passed the eye test better than I thought. So, and I think that they're starting to throw a little money into that program. And that, like to Patty C's point, getting at O'Brien there is from the area. Of course, more money's coming in the program.
Yeah.
So, that's there for me at number 8. At number 7 is Bronco Mendenhall. He's gone though. That did factor into my grading because had he returned, I think he might have been number 2 because I was like, oh shit, they're going to be contenders this year. But no, Devin Dampier's gone, Jason Beck's gone, and the whole damn staff and half the team is now at Utah State. So, but for 1 year, he, and you can make an argument he should be higher because they won a lot more games than people thought. Yeah. So at number 6, I have Ken Niumatalolo. I thought he did a fantastic job there at San Jose State. Overachieved many's expectations. So yeah. At number 5, I have Spencer Danielson. Three straight Mountain West coaches. You got Boise back to where they should be. Passing the eye test against Oregon and Penn State. I know you didn't get those games. Should have got the Oregon game. So I'm all in on Boise and Spencer Danielson getting back to that level that they deserve to be in, that they were under Harsin and Peterson and Hawkins and everybody there. So there we are at number 5. At number 4, I got Manny Diaz. Unbelievable job. At number 3, I said everything I could about Manny Diaz. Just you can make a case that should be number fucking 2, maybe even number 1. But number 4, Manny Diaz, unbelievable. At number 3, I got Pete Lembo. What the fuck?
Yeah.
The state of New York making a statement because at number 3, I got Pete Lembo. At number 2, I got Fran Brown. State of New York getting their shit together when it comes to football. Love both those hires. Very excited about watching them this year. And at number 1, the obvious Curt Cignetti at Indiana. I don't need to say much about that. Indiana went to the fucking playoffs. So curious, fire off your 10, man.
Yeah, I think at number 10, I have Sharon Moore at Michigan. I went back and forth. I ended up putting him at number 10. At number 9, I had Bill O'Brien from Boston College. I thought that good energy in the program. I had Chesney at number 8 with James Madison. Loved the direction that program's going in. They'll continue to build there. At number 7, I had Coach Kenny out there at San Jose State. I thought they did a great job and got better throughout the year. At number 6, I had Sumrall down there at Tulane. We touched on that already. They beat who they were supposed to and got and just continue to win down there. I got Spencer Danielson from Boise at 5. I mean, he makes college football playoff. What else is the guy supposed to do? He did what he's supposed to do and more. At number 4, I got Pete Lembo with Buffalo. We already laid that out. Overachieved. I got Manny Diaz, a pleasant surprise there at number 3. I mean, I did not see Duke winning 9 games. At number 2, Fran Brown, Mr. Energy. I thought he did an unbelievable job winning 10 games in year 1 at Syracuse. And then number 1, I mean, he wins. Just Google him. He's a Mountaineer. Curt Cignetti, baby. Let's go.
Love that. Yeah, throw that in there. Yeah, I mean, you have to have Cignetti number 1 because now they got the money coming in. But I do want to hit on this. We mentioned the other night on the ACC we were talking basketball coaches. Go listen to our college basketball coaching hires episode we just dropped on Thursday. You hit on the ACC did a great job with their basketball hires. How about their football hires with Fran Brown, Manny Diaz, and Bill O'Brien all making our top 10?
Yep. And now you look at it going into this next year. I mean, the Frank Reich one, we did an episode. Go check out that. But I mean, Belichick.
Chapel
Bill. I mean, he's arguably the greatest NFL coach in the history of the game, and he's coming to Carolina. So the ACC's trying to flip the narrative here.
Yeah,
Braun the year before, Braun was a good coach.
Oh yeah, Braun was a great one to get. Obviously it's a big make or break here. We will talk coach's hot seat in the coming week as well. Which coaches to watch out for as far as the hot seat. And we might even do a year 2 for all the coaches that are entering year 3. But the hot seat one is definitely coming down the pipeline here. Folks, we will be back tomorrow talking more coaches as well. So give Moneyline Mac a follow on Twitter at Moneyline_Mac. I'm on Twitter at TheColbyD. The College Football Experience is on Twitter at TCE on SGPN. Please, once again, youtube.com/the college experience. Highly recommend watching the show with the slide master at work there. But check out the college basketball experience. Check out the college baseball experience as the road to Omaha continues on. And check out the sports gambling podcast, NFL draft this Thursday. Big episode we're doing over there for that. Big live episode. So check that out. And check out the UFL gambling podcast. It's spring. The fuck? Check it out. CFL Gambling Podcast, MLB, all that other stuff. All right. Till next time, which is tomorrow. This is the College Football Experience. You better start thinking about yours. And we out of here.